All right, what is up, guys? VV back with another video, and today we're going to be doing another red purple Trafalgar Law video. I've been covering this leader a good amount since it's been released, because we've seen it pop up in, first talked about it in the ST reveal, of course, when it was first being released. We talked about the card itself and some interactions with it. Then we talked about it, and it came up in a few matches. It started showing up in a few matches. And now that we're in OP-05, it looks like this leader's seeing a pretty decent amount of play. So today's video is going to be around 3 decks from the the OP-05 meta. So over here in the West, we're still, we're just now about to hit OP-04. So we do have a good 3 to 4 months out before we're going to get anything like this, before we have access to stuff like this, maybe as long as 4 to 5 months away, at least at the time we're recording this, right? Yeah, but we're still, we're just going to be able to sit back and enjoy the show for a while to see what they come up with over in the East, and maybe make our own revisions and kind of come up with our own ideas in the meantime, while we're dealing with the OP-04 meta. So, okay, guys, let's go ahead and dive straight in. Like I said, we have 3 lists that we're going to go over. And real quick, let's read the leader. I know most people probably know what the leader does by now, but I just want to mention a few things. 5,000 power, 4 life. That is a default dual colored leaders starting, stats, starting power and life. The ability, though, the effect is activate on your main once per turn. Dawn -3. Now, I just want to really harp on that for a second. Just realize how much we can get away with there. Dawn cards can be oriented, they have 3 different orientations. It can be active, it can be rested, or it can be attached to a character, right, or a leader card. So there are 3 different orientations that a Dawn card can have. Well, whenever you're doing a Dawn -X ability, like minus however many it is, it will take a Dawn card from anywhere on your field. So as long as it's not in your Dawn deck, that's technically not on your field yet, any Dawn card that's on the field you can use. So whether you just swung with the card and there's a Dawn attached to it, or whether you tapped out fully, you can even use those Dawn cards for a Dawn minus ability, just to make sure everyone understands how powerful this ability can potentially be, right? So Dawn -3, place up to one. So in other words, you don't have to choose any, but place up to 1 of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. And play up to 1, again, so you don't have to do any, play up to 1 character card with a cost of 4 or less from your hand. So in other words, this has a lot of utility. It has a lot of versatility, where I can use it offensively or defensively, or both, if I can, if I can choose 2 legal targets here, right? So very, very potentially powerful ability, and let's keep that in mind when we're looking through these lists. I think you're going to see some common, some patterns. I think you're going to notice some patterns. So real quick, I'm going to read through the list, then we're going to talk about each card individually. So this list is running 4 Khalifa, the purple version, that's a 2K counter, 4 Shashi and Penguin. This is an ST10 card coming out, that's a 2K counter. We'll read the effects in a second. It's running 4 Trafalgar Law, 4 cost, 5,000 power, 1,000 counter blocker with a very strong on play. 4 Beppo. This is again, we're gonna go. Let me just blast through these. So 4 of the 3 cost, 5,000 power Trafalgar Law. So it's running the 4 cost and 3 cost, right? This is the searcher one. This is the blocker, and then 4 Eustace Captain Kidd. 4 Otama. We know what she does. 4 Zorro. This is just the 3 cost 5K Rush Zorro. It's just an alternate art, but that's all that is. 4 Gordon. 4 Trafalgar Law. So another 4 cost Trafalgar Law, but this is the red version, right? 4 when you're at sea, you fight pirates. OP-05. This is a search card. 4 Gamma Knife. This card here, and 2 Round Tables. Okay. So let's go ahead and go into some details real quick on some of the new cards coming out, or some of the new ST10 and OP-05 cards we need to talk about. So first and foremost, real quick, I do just want to mention one thing. This is from OP-03. We've had this now, but this is a 2K counter, but don't sleep on how strong this when attacking ability is. And that's one thing you're going to notice about a lot of these Trafalgar Law decks. Very cheap characters and a lot of 2K counters and a lot of 1K counters as well. Like just almost nothing but 1K and 2K counters, right? So let's keep that in mind. But this Dawn -1 on Khalifa is draw 2, trash 1 when attacking. That's excellent, guys. Like we actually can use this. We don't have to just sit on this as a 2K counter, okay? But notice that first too. Before I go any further, notice how many 2K counters there are, because I say that because notice this is going to be a pretty aggressive deck, right? You guys see what's going on here, correct? I'm hoping you guys see what's going on here. The most expensive card in this list is 5 cost, okay? Everything else is 4 and under. And we're sitting on 4 2K counters here, 4 2K counters here, which we're going to read the ability in a second, 4 2K counters here. Okay, so that is 12 2K counters. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of a spoiler. There's another list on here that runs even more than that. All right, out of the 3 law decks we're going to be looking at in today's video. So let's move on to Shashi and Penguin. This is an ST10 card. This comes out with a 3 captains list. It's a Heart Pirates character. 4 costs 5,000 power. Those stats are absolutely fine, right? We're not upset about those stats. 2,000 counter as well. Like that alone would have been fine without this on play, right? Without this on play, this stat line would have been completely fine. But it has a very good on play as well, where if you have 3 or less Dawn cards on your field, add up to 2 Dawn cards from your Dawn deck and rest them. So this is a prime target for Trafalgar Law's ability, right? Because you're going to subtract 3 Dawn from your field and then play a 4 cost character or less. Well, this is a 4 cost character and it's at 5,000 power, which is a very relevant number. And then when he comes into play, if you have 3 or less Dawn cards on your field, you're going to add up to 2 cards from your Dawn deck and rest them. So just a lot going on there, guys. Like that has so much synergy. I hope y'all see it. If there's something y'all don't see, or if there's something I missed, do not be afraid to comment in the comment section below. Okay, so very good 2K counter. Probably one of the best 2K counters printed for how it interacts with a leader. Probably one of the best. Next up, we have Trafalgar Law. 4 cost 5,000 power, 1,000 counter blocker. Sounds familiar, right? That's your Borsellino stat line. But instead of having Borsellino's effect, this one has Dawn -1 on play. This is on play, Dawn -1. If your opponent has 7 or more cards in their hand, trash 2 cards from your opponent's hand. This is a mini Isho ability, right? I mean, it's literally does the same thing as Isho, but it requires them to have 7 cards in hand as opposed to 6 cards, right? Isho is the 8 cost Black Navy character card, for those who don't know what I'm talking about. It has, and this has the same wording where your opponent will basically, shuffle their hand, lay it down. They don't have to reveal the cards, but they lay the cards down, if they have 7 or more, and you'll choose 2 of them for them to trash. Okay, they don't get to pick, so that's very, very important to know. And again, this is a 4 cost 5,000 power body. This is lining up perfectly with what we want from our leader, right? This is lining up perfectly. Okay, next up we have Beppo. This is an ST10 card, and so is this. Trafalgar Law was an ST10 as well, just in case y'all didn't, or in case I didn't say. This is a 4 cost 5,000 power, 1,000 counter. On play, if your opponent has more Dawn cards on their field than you do, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and rest it. And that's an on play and when attacking. So Beppo is going to be pivotal to you to using in the deck so that you can keep up your Dawn, right? Because if you're removing 3 Dawn a turn by using this leader's effect, well, you're going to need ways to get back in the game, right? And that's where Beppo and Shashi and Penguin just, are just perfect, right? They do everything we need it to for what they're doing. Okay, so just very powerful effects there. Next up, we have the 3 cost 5,000 power Trafalgar Law. Now, this is coming out in OP-05, right? When attacking, if your opponent has more Dawn cards on their field than you do, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 Heart Pirates type card, doesn't have to be a character, type card, and add it to your hand. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. Okay, this is just a very strong 3 cost 5,000 power character that has a nice when attacking effect that's going to be able to net us some potential card draw. Very good. Then he has 4 Eustace Captain Kidd, which is a 5 cost 6,000 power 1,000 counter character blocker. That's the same stat line as Hina, right? Very good. And this has on your turn, once per turn, when a Dawn card from your field is returned to your Dawn deck, add 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and set it as active. Okay, so again, we've got Eustace Kid, we've got Beppo, and we've got Shachi and Penguin up here getting us our Dawn back. And we're still technically going to be going behind in Dawn, right? More than likely we're going to be staying behind, but that's what we want, right? So that way we get this character's effect. Because you know, Beppo, we have to have less Dawn than our opponent. So that's going to be really important. Now, mirror matches will probably be extremely difficult and extremely complicated, but that'll you know, that's just going to require practice to deal with stuff like that. Okay, next up for Otama, not much to talk about here, but minus 2,000 power. Well, guess what that does? That allows us to hit a 5,000 power less with this character, or excuse me, with this leader's effect. Okay, Zoro is just a 3-cost 5,000 power rusher. The only cards in this deck that do not have counters on them, other than the events, obviously, the only character cards are the Searcher Law, the Rush Zoro, and these Gordons we're about to talk about. So just, you know, the deck really has a lot of gas. It's got a lot of counters in hand. It's running 12 2K counters, and then everything else is pretty much a 1K counter with a few exceptions. So again, this is the Rush Zoro. We know what this does. Just a cool alt art is all that is. Next up is Gordon. This is a 1-cost 2,000 power that has Activate Main. Return this card to the bottom of your deck, and then give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 3,000 power. So it's a slightly stronger version of Otama, but at the same time, it's a little bit weaker too, because it's not it doesn't have any counter, whereas Otama has a 2K counter. So they both have their perks, but they're really just meant to be 1-cost power reductions, right? Because this will allow you to hit a 6,000 power or less with this effect. And then we have Trafalgar Law, 4-cost 5,000 power, 1,000 counter on play. Give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 2,000 power during this turn. So this is just the aggressive offensive version of Otama, right? In this deck. Okay, very, very powerful to cheat into play with this leader's ability. One thing that I'm curious about is I don't know if this wording's exactly correct, because, you know, on this website it just kind of words it however. But it's you know, place up to one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power or less at the bottom of the owner's deck, and play up to one character card with a cost 4 or less from your hand. So my question is this: do you get to choose the order in which this happens? And someone let me know. You know, if you know the answer to that, if you're like a judge, or you know a judge that knows the answer, by all means, you know, y'all share with us in the comment section below. My basic question is this: with this leader's effect, would I be able to play Trafalgar Law using his on play minus 2,000 power, and then bottom decking a 5,000, you know, or less from comboing this with the leader effect? That's my question. Probably not, but at the same time, it'd be nice to know, you know, like get an official ruling on that. I'll have to check the Q&A for it later. Okay, next up we have 1-cost. When you're at sea, you fight pirates. This is a trigger activate this card's main effect. It is a look at the top 3 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Straw Hat Pirates, Kid Pirates, or Heart Pirates type card, and add it to your hand. So it can be an event. It can be a character or an event that has one of these types. Then place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. So yeah, it only looks at the top 3, but that's really not bad, right? Because it just hits every single thing in your deck. You know, this is Straw Hat. The only thing it does not hit, it will not hit Gordon because it's film, and it will not hit Otama because she's Wano County. It won't hit this card either because it's Land of Wano, but you're using that, right? So you shouldn't have to worry about that. And it looks like it doesn't hit Round Table either. But okay, we'll talk about that in a second. So just an excellent event searcher. Very nice. Next up we have Gamma Knife. This card is kind of just perfect for the Trafalgar Law deck. Excuse me. This is a 2-cost main Dawn -1, right? So you're going to return 1 Dawn card, and then give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 5,000 power during this turn. So using this with your Trafalgar Law's leader effect, or leader ability, that takes out 99% of characters in the game, right? That hits a 10,000 power or less character. Just insane. Yeah, just for a 2 Dawn investment. Now, yes, you'll have to return 1 Dawn for this card's effect, and you'll have to return 3 Dawn for this character's effect. So it's not totally free or anything, but I think you guys see where I'm going with that. It's still very, very powerful. And then the card that I think is actually a little bit better is just this one, because you're just paying 4, and then boom, minus 10,000 power. You can take out anything in the game with this card. Y'all see that, right? If I tap 4 Dawn down, or if I rest 4 Dawn to use this event, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 10,000 power during this turn. So boom, that whatever the character is, it could be a 12,000 power Kaido, it does not matter. Minus 10,000 power, and now it's going to be a 2,000, right? So I can Dawn -3 to bottom deck it. So I honestly think that Round Table is just strictly better than the Gamma Knife. Now, Gamma Knife does have a trigger where you can add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. It does have some Dawn ramp potential. But again, like I said, using Gamma Knife, it's gonna cost 4 Dawn anyway, and you're gonna return 4 Dawn instead of just 3, versus the Round Table. I'm saying. So think of the 2 examples, right? You are returning 3 Dawn from your leader's effect if you're comboing this with it, right? And then you're also returning 1 Dawn from using this card. So for 2 Dawn, you are still returning 1 Dawn for this effect, but then you're returning 3 more Dawn later in the turn for your leader's effect. So that's going to be -4 Dawn in 1 turn to deal with a 10k, whereas Round Table is just 4 Dawn. You tap 4, you're going to have to tap 4 Dawn for either of these, right? Or return, right? So that part doesn't matter, the fact that it costs 2 more, because 4 Dawn is going to disappear from your board with the Gamma Knife, right? Whereas only 3 Dawn is going to disappear from your board with Round Table, and you're going to be able to KO anything in the game, right? Currently in the game. So I do think this is a little bit better. Now, yes, it's true. You know, you could still, you could play out your whole hand more efficiently with Gamma Knife. But as a result, you're going to return more Dawn cards to your deck, to your Dawn deck, and it's going to set you back a little bit. I think they're both good, right? Don't get me wrong. I just personally prefer Round Table. And we'll see, right? We'll see how the meta goes. Because this guy did well, right? He got first place at a tournament. I don't know how big the tournament was, but he got first place. So he clearly knew what he was doing, and it clearly worked out fine for him. Okay. So final thoughts on this deck. I love how low costed it is, how much low cost characters it runs, how basic it is, yet at the same time complex and intricate, because there's going to be decisions you have to make, right? And it's all going to depend on what cards are in your hand, cards like this and cards like this, right? Where it's like, okay, am I ready to just go off right now? Because for those who have played like Z in the past, there comes a point where you just go off, right? Where it's like, okay, I'm just every turn to stay in this game, I'm going to have to -4 cost, or excuse me, -4 Dawn every single turn till I have basically just no Dawn left. And in this deck, you at least have ways to mitigate that, right? With Beppo, with Shachi and Penguin, and with Eustace Captain Kidd. But I think there's going to be a balance we're going to have to figure out when playing decks like this. But yeah, it looks very aggressive and at the same time very controlling, very powerful. I cannot wait to try this deck out. Okay, next list. All right, this next list is very similar. There is only really 3 differences. I did look at this deck beforehand. So this runs Zoro, the 3 cost, 4,000 power, 1,000 counter Zoro coming out in OP-05 that has, when attacking, if you have 3 or less life, add up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and set it as active. Okay, so 3 or less life is very easy to acquire, right? Because we have 4, so we just have to take 1 hit from our opponent and we can activate that, right? Now, yeah, it's probably more geared towards like a Luffy deck, the purple Luffy and the red purple Luffy decks. This has much more synergy with. But hey, I mean, getting down to 3 life in a 4 life deck is not that hard. But yeah, so this is running 4 Zoros and 3 Ace, and it's not running the Round Table. Now, it's running 4 Sanjis over the 4 Khalifas. That's the only difference you see here, which is nice because that is searchable. The Sanji is searchable by your event, your searcher event. However, the effect is not as powerful. Well, at least not in my opinion. It's not as powerful as the Khalifa. But someone could argue like, hey, well, this will let you activate your Zoro, you know, as soon as possible if you're playing against a more defensive deck like Rebecca. So there is an argument to be had there. And again, so just to kind of show you guys, let me get it like centered like right here, and we'll go back to this one, center it right there. Okay, yeah, I think that's right. There you go. So here you go. So this is the first deck with Khalifa. So remember, so here's the whoopsies. Here's the difference. Instead of Sanji, this deck is running Khalifa. Instead of the Trafalgar Law here, the 4 cost Trafalgar Law, sorry, it's running the Zoro. Okay, that's like the only difference. And then lastly, it is running, let me scroll down to the bottom now a little bit. this deck is running Ace instead of the round table. It went down 1 Zoro and went up 1 round table, which is quote unquote Ace in this example, right? So in other words, the only difference in this list is you change Sanji, Khalifa changed into Sanji, they went down a Zoro and down 2 round tables to go up 3 Aces, and then they went down 4 of the red Trafalgar Law for the purple Zoro, right? That's the only difference. Very similar list. So we're starting to see a very strong core for what Trafalgar Law will be. Again, this is me going between the two. Almost identical, right? Almost completely identical. And then the events are basically identical. But like I said, instead of running round table, this person's running Ace. And this list did very well. This got this was a first place deck. It says it went 9-1. I don't know how many people are at the tournament. So if anyone ever knows the answers to my questions, like, when I'm like, I don't know how many people are at this tournament. If you know, then by all means, please tell us in the comment section below. I have no idea how to find out. but anyway, this list, very similar lists. Okay. And again, you've got 4 2K counters here, 4 2K counters here, and 4 2K counters here. Very, very strong, aggressive, and defensive list at the same time, like simultaneously. But I will say this. I don't know if I like the Ace in the deck as much as I like just going round table, because that goes back to my question. Maybe Zoro makes the difference. Maybe Zoro is the difference needed. But from the play testing I've seen of the deck, it looks like it stabilizes around 5 or 6 Dawn, right? And it just keeps going down to like 2 or 3 and back up to 5 or 6 every turn. How frequently will you be able to get to 7 Dawn to play Ace? That becomes my question. I think Ace is an incredible card. It's always been like, I've always really liked the art for it as well. Not that that matters, but it's a 7-cost, 7,000 power character. But you got to remember, in a deck like this, it doesn't have Rush, so it does lose that benefit that it would have in a Whitebeard Pirates deck. But it still does give up to 2 of your opponent's characters minus 3,000 power during this turn. So when it comes into play, yeah, it won't be able to attack, but you will be able to minus 3,000 2 of their characters, but you'll be able to minus 3,000 1 of their characters and use your leader's effect on them. So you're going to take out a 6,000 power character right away and potentially throw another character into play. So again, I don't think that this is a bad decision, but I think we're going to have to see more play testing and see how the meta evolves. But I don't know. I don't see Ace sticking around because he doesn't have Rush. That's the only reason why I don't think he'll stick around. But again, I could be wrong on that. Could be wrong. We'll see. Okay, and the last list is the most interesting one to me. This one is a totally different direction, and I'm going to be honest, guys. I think it's in like a slightly better direction. Like that's just me. This is just me, but I think this might be a little bit better direction. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. So this list, now let me say one more thing. I do want to offer some criticism, a critique of this list afterwards, some things that I would change personally, but man, this is a cool, unique, interesting list. Okay, so right away, it runs 4 Queen. This is your 5-cost, 6,000 power Queen with a 1K counter, blocker, Dawn -1 to draw 2, trash 1. We all know what this Queen does. Okay, it's running Sadie, which is a 3-cost, 3,000 power character, which is not horrible, right? We can buff that pretty easily. It's a 2K counter. We know what Sadie is. That's a 2K counter. And it plays up to 1 Jailer Beast type character card from your hand. Okay, well, let's skip Domino for a second. That's just a 2-cost, 2,000 power blocker anyway. And it's running Jailer Beasts. This deck is running 4-cost, 5,000 power characters. Now remember, the on KO will not work for you. In the same way that Ace, you won't get his Rush effect because you're not a Whitebeard deck. This on KO effect will not apply to this deck because you're not Impel Down. However, this is still a 4-cost, 5,000 power character with a 1,000 counter on it. That's a blocker. You can cheat this into play with Trafalgar Law's ability. And you can cheat and play with Sadie's ability. so like the dream would be to, let's just say you bottom deck, so -3 to bottom deck one of their characters after playing something. I mean, let's just say you have 5 Dawn, right? Just bear with me for this example. Say you have 5 Dawn down, right? You play out Queen, so now you have a 5-cost, 6,000 power blocker that drew 2 cards for you, and you trash 1. Then with Trafalgar Law's ability, can't even talk right now. With Trafalgar Law's ability, you'll throw to the bottom of the deck one of their 3,000 power characters, play out the Sadie, which will play out on Mina Koala. So like in one turn, you'll put down a 6,000, 3,000, 5,000. You swung for 5. You did all this. It's just, you know, there's potential. There's so much potential there, right? There's so much potential. It's also running 4 of the Minotaur, which is just a 4-cost, 5,000 power, 1,000 counter beater with double attack. This is not a card you can ignore, right? Like this is not a card they can just simply ignore. They have to either counter out every time or they're taking 2 per turn. So this is just potentially so strong. It is running Hannibal to search up the Impel Down cards. There's only 15 targets in the deck, 4 Minotaur, 4 Mina Koala, 4 Sadie, and 3 Domino. Domino is Impel Down. But, because remember, it can't search itself up, right? This is one of the cards I'm going to criticize later, but anyway, let's just get through this real quick. So it does have a Hannibal. 4 Shashi and Penguin, we've already talked about that. 4 of the 4-cost blocker Trafalgar Law from purple. 4 Beppo, we know what this does. 4 Otama. It's running 4 Brook. This is another one where I don't quite agree with this one. This is the 4-cost 5,000 power Straw Hat Crew type Brook, 1k counter. It has Dawn ×1 when attacking. Give up to 2 of your opponent's characters minus 2,000 power during this turn. That effect is very strong, like the when attacking effect. 1 Dawn investment, you're swinging for 6, and then you're also, you know, putting minus 4,000 power on the board. You know, that's nothing to scoff at. That's nothing to overlook. But it does feel a little slow for what this deck's trying to do. I could be wrong. We'll have to see again. It's all gonna depend on how the meta shapes up. If it's a little bit of a slower meta, this card's insane, right? But if the meta is faster, a little you know, how do I say it? I don't know. I think if decks are trying to swing taller versus wider, this card is no longer that good. Right, I would rather just have these round tables he's already running. But anyway, so he's running 3 round tables, and then he's running 4 Jinbei. This is an ST10 card. It's a 2-cost, 2,000 power, 2,000 counter Straw Hat Crew card. So this has, and the effect is not horrible. It's Dawn ×1 when attacking. Give up to 1 of your opponent's characters minus 2,000 power during this turn. So this is the same thing as Brook, but it's on a 2k counter body. So, you know, again, this list is a little bit different from what we saw. And it doesn't run the Eustace Captain Kidd. It doesn't run the Zorro. It doesn't run quite a few things, right? It didn't run there we go. Yeah. It doesn't run the Searcher Law, doesn't run the Zorro, doesn't run the Kidd, doesn't run the Rush Zorro either. But again, this list did get first place, or maybe not again, but just to specify, this list did fine. It got first place. I don't know how big the tournament was, but you know, it clearly worked, right? It clearly worked in some way. It had some success. So yeah, the criticism I have for this deck is I would just take out these dominoes. I don't want them at all, right? Like my logic is I don't want this card. In fact, I like the Sadie. I like having Sadie in the list. And let me also bring up a hang on 1 second, guys. Let me move some stuff around over here on my other monitor. And bring up all of the Jailer Beasts. Let me just type in Mino. That should do it. Okay, so Sadie is grabbing these Jailer Beasts. This Domino's not a Jailer Beast. She just has MINO in her name. That's all that is. But these are the 4 options here. You've got Mina Koala is a Jailer Beast. That we already have this in the deck. We already have Minotaur. That's a 4 we already have that in the deck. And then these are the other 2. Mino Zebra, which I think is I think it's fine, because here's the thing. You're getting these bodies out so easily, right? That's what makes the list so powerful, is you're cheating these characters out and they're swinging for 5k every turn. Well, if you ignore this card, this hits with Banish, right? That is very, very frustrating. And the final one is Mino Rhinoceros or Mino Rhinoceros. I don't think this card's as good. You'd be better off running a 3-cost 5,000 power body with a 1k counter on it. Because, yeah, you can technically cheat this into play with your Sadie. But the on KO doesn't do anything, right? Because our leader's not Impel Down. And it doesn't have any, just static effects like Mina Koala has blocker, Minotaur has double attack, and Zebra has banish. Some other options to consider is just flat out going for, let me just do red, purple. And if you let's grab just nothing but 6,000. There we go. 6,000 power, 4 cost characters. because remember, that's like the best we're going to be able to get with our Trafalgar Law's ability. There are some decent options here. Just, you know, two that were not in any of the lists, and they might not be good enough, but two of the cards in the list that could potentially see some play over time would be like Marshall D. Teacher. This is a 4-cost 6,000 power character. It is Whitebeard Pirate, so it doesn't have like a great searcher word we're looking for, or a searcher type for our searcher. But it has, when attacking, you may trash one red character in play with 4,000 power or more. Draw one card, then this character gets plus 1,000 during this battle. Gains plus 1,000 during this battle. That could potentially be very powerful in the deck we're doing, right? Because it's a 4-cost 6,000 power body, just flat out. So we can throw that into play for free with our Leader's Effect. The other one is a new card that just came out in, what's his name? Brooke. I don't know what this name is. I don't know what's going on there. Sorry, guys. But anyway, this has an on play. If you have 8 or more Dawn cards on your field, give up to 2 of your opponent's characters minus 2,000 power during this turn. This is not realistic. We're probably not going to be able to pull this off. But there is one other little synergy I think we need to look at, and it's this one. So this is a 4-cost, 6,000 power, 1,000 counter vanilla body, page 1. But for those who don't know or maybe don't remember, this has an interaction with another 2K counter printed way back in OP-01, or excuse me, was it starter set 4? Excuse me. Wait, was this guy? This was in ST4. Excuse me. I don't know what I was talking about. I got confused. Oh, page 1. I was like, wait, did I say OP-01? No, I'm just going crazy here, guys. Page 1 is he is from ST04, and so is Ulti. And this is a 4-cost 5,000 power body with a 2,000 power or 2,000 counter on it that has on play Dawn -1, play up to 1 page 1 character card with a cost of 4 or less from your hand without paying its cost. So hopefully you guys see what's going on there, right? Like you could potentially with our leaders, whoops, let me go back. With our Leader's Effect here, you can play the ulti, which will be able to play the page 1. Right, and let's just see if there are any, hang on one second, guys. I gotta find, there it is. No, that's not it. I'm crazy. There we go, right. Why do I keep hitting the same one? Guys, I'm losing it. Here we go. Let's look up page 1 if we can find any. Sometimes this website gets a little wonky with the search. Let me see if page will work. Okay, these are the page cards, and let me see something. Play up to 1 page 1 character card with a cost of 4 or less from your hand without paying its cost. So you'll be able to target anyone. Well, not the blue one, obviously. The deck is red-purple. But here's the other one. Let's see if this is any good. Activate main. It's a 4-cost 5K with 1K counter. So that's already decent, right? So maybe you just run both page 1s and then this ulti. And then it has activate main, Dawn -1. This character can also attack your opponent's active characters during this turn. Yeah, I mean, that seems okay, guys. Like, that really does seem like it has some decent synergy. Anyway, and y'all tell me what y'all think about this. Am I crazy? Am I trying to fit too much into this this Trafalgar Law deck? Or do y'all think this could potentially be something very, very good in you know, later on? Or now, who knows? But one more thing I want to say about this deck is check this out. 4 Sadies, 4 Shachi and Penguin, 4 Otama, and 4 Jinbei. Did you notice what those all were? What those all had in common? All of them were 2K counters, guys. All of them. That is 16 2K counters in this deck. It has all this Jailer Beast synergy. This deck just looks so fun, guys. I'm for those who follow the stream, you know I'm not a red-purple player. I'm not a red player or a purple player. I would probably play anything before I played red and purple, right? Like green, yellow, black, of course, is what I main. And then blue, I'll play, of course, because Rebecca's coming out and Sakazuki. But this deck just looks like it's going to be so strong and have such incredible synergy. So, yeah, y'all tell me what y'all think about the list. There's one more thing I want to say, and this is going to help you out, so please don't leave yet if you're listening. I have one more really important thing left to say, and it's about this list right here. Real quick, with Gordon and Trafalgar Law, if you are interested in trying this leader out, this Trafalgar Law leader out when ST10 and OP-05 comes around, please consider buying these cards now. These are promotional level cards. Notice the P at the bottom right here, P017, and Gordon, P013. Now let me bring this over here. That's why I had this up over here. Hang on one second. So first we'll do Trafalgar Law. At the time of me recording this video, This card is only 50 cents. So this is the time to snag it. And okay, maybe not. See, hang on. Look at this. Did you see that? That was like a trick. It says 50 cents right here, 17 listings. Yep. The card is already starting to shoot up in price. So you might want to snag your 4 or if you plan on going red purple. And I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just trying to give you some helpful advice for, if you are planning on playing this. These prices are probably not going to go down unless they reprint the promotional card, which they don't always do, right? So again, and the other one is Gordon. And for those who don't know, Gordon is already pretty expensive. Okay, here's the Gordon card you need right here. This is $11 a card now, right? $11.50, almost $12 a card, and actually more than that if you go down lower. So if you really are interested in the red-purple Trafalgar Law deck moving forward, like an ST10 and OP-04, or excuse me, OP-05, well, sort of an OP-04, right? When the ST10 decks come out, you'll have a little bit of chance to play with it. But by OP-05, please do yourself a favor before these cards become insanely expensive. Like I said, just to put things in perspective, this is another promotional card that went out of control when a deck won. Now, I think this was an even more rare. How'd you say that? This card was probably the most rare, even though they're all promotional level cards. This one's probably the most rare. I don't know how that works. Maybe they all have the same amount that are printed, but you get the point. This card, though, look at this. $60. This is pretty much the most expensive card in One Piece. That is not like an alt art, super mega secret rare or whatever. This is just a promotional card. So the only way that this price will ever go down is, like I said, for like that let me go back. The only way that this card, the Gordon or the Trafalgar Law, will ever go down in price, Trafalgar Law, there we go, is if they print more of them through promo events or print them in future sets. So again, I'm just trying to help you guys out now if you are focused on doing this. Okay, so that's enough of me rambling about that. Tell me what you guys think. This list looks so fun to me. One more thing I did want to mention is the criticism I had for this deck. Sorry, guys, I got totally sidetracked. It's like I had that in my mind for so long. I didn't want to forget it. I didn't want to leave you guys without that little nugget of information at the end there about the prices of the promo cards. The thing that I would recommend for this deck, excuse me, is I would remove Hannibal. Like, yes, it is a nice one-cost character you can play right on turn 1. But the idea is there's only 15 targets you can search up. Yes, you'll probably hit it 50% of the time, or maybe even 75% of the time. I don't know the actual numbers behind that. But why not just make this card into one of the Jailer Beast cards? And this Domino card, why not just make this a rusher? Why are we trying to be defensive? And honestly, there's probably even an argument for not running this. Now, again, these guys got first place. I'm not saying they don't know what they're doing, of course. But I don't think anyone knows what they're doing yet, right? These leaders just came out at the time of me posting this. OP-05 just came out in the East. Like, there's still a lot to be discovered, a lot to fine-tune, and so on and so forth. Well, all right, guys. Hope you all enjoyed that. As usual, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you don't mind, if you haven't already. It really helps me out. And I hope you guys enjoyed. And until next time, peace.